welcome back to the Blue Door Pub Thunderdome for another Boo with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th best daily podcast, a show about everything and nothing at the same time. And remember, very important, everyone's middle name is Jerome. Sitting here at Blue Door and waiting on our guest, Manny Hill of 1500 ESPN, the jack of all trades, as it were. We're going to dive into a little sports, and everything. Anything comes up. We'll talk a little Oscars. See, Manny's a little bit of a cinephile. I know he had La La Land, so we're kindred spirits there. Tell a friend, spread the word, add to the Jerome Army, iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, baby. Two pieces of info before we head on in with Manny. So first off, you're hearing this on Tuesday, and if you're hearing this on Wednesday, you're kind of SOL. But all day Tuesday, dollar pints at Blue Door Pub, all locations to celebrate their 1 year anniversary, their birthday of the Como University on Como location. Dollar pints, and it's going to be everything. It's going to be Surly, it's going to be Indeed, it's going to be Bent Paddle Beer, it's going to be a Bauhaus, Liftbridge, and Fulton. Dollar taps all friggin' day long on Tuesday, February 28th. Get your ass down there. All right, let's get to Manny Hill of 1500 ESPN. And here we are at the Blue Door Pub, Como. Damn it, University on Como. Sorry, Marissa. We're chilling here. We've got Manny Hill of 1500 ESPN. Wears many hats. Utility player.
Like 37 hats. And I produce like 29,000 podcasts.
Follow Manny on the Twitter at MannyHill84. Now, is the 84, is that birth year or is that an homage to Michael Jenkins?
I thought you were going to say Moss. That's a good curveball there. No, it's my birth year, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm a spring chicken compared to you.
Yeah. I'll be 33 in April. So, yeah.
Now, this is great because this allows me to break into the racial stuff early. So, since I'm an Asian male, I look exactly the same as I did in like 6th grade. Same height too, by the way, which is great for basketball back then. Not so much now. But then we always get random free fries. So help yourself. And then I'll look exactly the same until I'm 65. But on the day of my 65th birthday, Mr. Miyagi.
Hey. It works.
I mean, I'll take it.
Sure. Why not? You know.
Also, I've noticed getting a little salt and pepper around the temples.
See, I've got some of that coming in here, too, on the
you don't have the temples
issue
because you're pretty clean up top.
Yeah, well, here's the problem. My hairline is like here.
Yeah.
I'm 30. I'm 32, and this has been like going back since I was like 23. I've been losing my hair.
So you have the pre-LeBron hairline.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't have LeBron's paycheck, so I can't really have the procedure that he had. Wasn't that crazy? Where he had that off season where you could clearly see where his hairline was, and then all of a sudden, like 3 months later, he's in training camp and he's got like a full head of hair, and you're like, okay, LeBron, you're not fooling anyone.
Well, yeah, that's my favorite thing when it's just like, hey, if I'm cool about it and don't mention it, it's like no one will notice. Yeah. Like when I forget the guy's name, but that Deadspin editor was challenging anyone to MMA fight over the Ted Cruz tweet, and then some MMA fighter was like, yeah, I'll fight you. And then the guy just deleted the tweets and is like, yeah, everyone will forget this.
Yeah.
Just like nothing happened. Yeah. But so 1500, why don't you run down like all of your responsibilities? Like, what would you say you do here?
Let's see. I co-produced The Ride with Royce with Chris Reavers.
Yep.
That's kind of the Monday through Friday thing that I do every day. And I produced 3 podcasts. Tom Pellicero's Goal Line Stand, formerly known as the Tomcast, which is pretty much an NFL-centric podcast because Tom, of course, the senior writer at the USA Today for the NFL. So.
I missed the Tomcast when he just talked about everything.
Yeah. I think Tom, well, here's the thing, too. In the offseason, since we've hit the offseason now, he's going to get, I think, a lot more into some of the any and everything, especially when we hit that dry spell, the NFL offseason, like in between free agency and the draft, where there's just, like, nothing going on. And the NFL will still poke its ugly head up with something, like it always does, because it can't help itself. But we'll get into more, some home cooking.
Yeah, but you're also a sound engineer.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yes. At the Genesis Communications Network down in Burnsville. We're based out of Burnsville, and we syndicate 80-plus different radio shows across the country.
Oh, wow.
Various different places.
And they're all Glenn Beck.
Yeah, close to it. But yeah, so that's kind of what I do in the morning, and then usually at 1500 during the early afternoon, and sometimes into the evening when I'm doing other podcasts and other things too.
Can I get you to say you're going to like the way you look? I guarantee it.
You're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it.
It's like
I should be like the new guy for that, right?
You sound like the Men's Warehouse guy. Like, I have like 2 skills that serve like no actual purpose in the real world. But well, I should probably actually work for the FBI or something. I'm good at matching faces. Of if you're watching a TV show or a movie, like I'll be able to tell you like 15 shows that person's been in just by their face.
Sure.
And not like major people like, oh, Tom Hanks has been in Big. No, it's like random like side people. Yeah. And also I have a thing of matching up voice doppelgangers.
Really?
Yeah. So again, like we talked about before the show, maybe that's why people think I'm on the spectrum. It's very possible. But Manny,
that's an impressive skill, though. I gotta say.
No, like I should probably work for the FBI, and then it turn into some like USA sitcom. Yeah, probably.
Or like a reality show where they just follow you around and that way.
Definitely Wapner. Manny, give me the elevator speech of your background. Like where you're from, where'd you come from, where'd you go?
I grew up in St. Paul. St. Paul Johnson grad, 2002. I was not an athlete by any stretch of the imagination, so while in high school, I figured I'd do the next best thing and cover the high school sports for the school newspaper, which was fun.
Now, no athletics, but you're like 6'2", and like well built.
Yeah, that was part of my lack of athleticism was more self-inflicted. I wasn't as dedicated of an athlete because it wasn't playing sports is fun for me when it's in sort of a casual setting. Like I don't like playing organized sports. Just wasn't a big thing for me.
Yeah.
I was so ingrained into sort of following and paying attention to organized sports and pro sports and that sort of thing. So that's how I sort of decided to do the next best thing of sort of covering it and following it in that manner. So and that's how I got into radio too.
Honestly, that's really cool. Is that you established from an early age that you know that playing sports is not for you, and then you get into the next best thing. You get a jump start on everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely. And what helped me too was my dad. My dad worked in small market radio for a long time, and I got a chance to because he lives in Tennessee, and when I was 14, summer of 1998, I got a chance to he was doing play-by-play for the Tennessee Tomahawks, which were a independent. They played in an independent league, much like the Saints do. St. Paul Saints do up here.
Yep.
And so I'm 14 years old, and I'm my father's color guy for independent baseball, and I'm like breaking down things just because I'm a 14-year-old know-it-all, kind of, even though I didn't really know anything now or know anything at that time. And so I'm breaking down, the pitcher for the Tomahawks or whatever that he was. I forget the guy's name because it was so long ago, but he was a
Bartolo Colon.
Yeah, probably. Bartolo was probably about 35 at the time.
Yeah.
No, but he was like a reliever turned starter. And he's like,
which always works out famously,
right? So he was like their sort of their swing reliever. He was like Brian Dunsing was for the Twins for forever, and so he was making like his first career start, and like the first couple batters that he faced were quick. It was like a 2-pitch at bat, and the next one was like a 1-pitch at bat, ground out or whatever.
Yep.
And I said, well, Ron, I'm trying to pretend like I'm not in the booth with my dad, even though I am. Ron, that was a good play for. It's good. He's getting the right at bats because with him being a reliever turned starter, this was a great chance for him to keep the pitch count down. And my dad kind of looked at me for a second, like almost like he wanted to say, "Boy, what the hell are you? How the hell do you know this?" And then so he didn't say it, but he kind of looked at me like, "Really? Like, how do you know this?" And then he just kept going with the broadcast. And then afterwards, he's like, we go to a commercial break, and he's like, "Son, that's amazing. How the hell did you know?" And I was like, "I don't know. I just figured it sounded good, so I went with it." And so really ever since then, I was like, yeah, radio might be a thing for me.
Hey, Well, you got the voice for it, that's for sure.
Thank you.
As opposed to me, and I've had to work on it, so I'm smoking 2 packs of menthol a day.
Well, here's the thing.
No,
My dad, my dad actually is a pretty heavy smoker. I've been trying to get him to quit for a long time, but he refuses to do so. So that's kind of a battle that I go through with him. But he, he's still got his pipes pretty good. He's retired now, but his pipes are still pretty strong despite all the smoking.
Now, with minor league baseball, we got the Twins here, full rebuilding project, but they cleaned the decks in the front office, so there's some hope of modernizing. I think Telluride probably was a couple years past this day. But watching a game like this summer, if you had a choice between a Twins game and a Saints game, which you picking?
Probably. Well, if this were last year, definitely a Saints game. I think the games were always competitive. Well, I'll tell you this. I was at a Saints game last summer with my nephew, and something I had never seen in my entire life. I think they were playing Sioux Falls, if I remember. Starting pitcher for Sioux Falls. He goes 2 1/3 innings. He walks 11 guys. The Saints ended up scoring, I think, 4 or 5 runs, and they only got like 1 hit. And he walked 11 guys. And I said, this is independent baseball at its finest. When things like that happen, you don't see that happen in the major leagues. Usually if a guy walks 3 guys, manager comes out and yanks him out of the game, he's done. But independent baseball, nope. You've walked 7 guys. Stay out there. You're gonna fix yourself here.
Yeah, because they're working on stuff. But I'm sure the manager find him is like, hey, you don't get an extra bologna sandwich on the bus tonight. You get out of here.
Exactly.
You sit your ass down.
Yeah, exactly.
Because the Saints CHS Field is a great venue to watch a ball game.
Yeah,
and
it's beautiful.
For the Twins, watching major league players, it's for me kind of a fair weather Twins fan. I'm not gonna lie. Used to be
I don't blame you.
Used to be a huge Twins fan back in the day. Baseball was my first love before the NFL sort of took over.
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, the Angels are in town. I'm going to go see Pujols and Mike Trout. Awesome. And it's actually kind of funny. We have bad luck with themed uniform nights because the wife and I went to 2 Twins games and 2 Saints games over the summer. And the first Twins game was against the Angels. That was Jackie Robinson night.
Yeah.
So the wife's completely confused. Also, the Twins and the Angels both
Why
were
are they
red.
all wearing 42?
Why are they all wearing 42? Why are they both wearing red? So that was interesting. And then one of the Saints games, it was the Unity night, so everything was like rainbow.
Okay.
And the wife was like, is this their normal uniforms? What is going on? Why do we have bad luck with these?
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. The Saints game, we got to see Mark Hamburger throw a complete game.
Sweet.
The pride of
He
St.
actually
Paul.
started the game that I just talked about. He was
Holy
actually
crap.
the Saints starter.
Maybe we're at the same game.
I don't know. Did the opposing pitcher walk 11 guys?
No, that would have stood out in my mind. Yeah, that's fair. But sell me on some hope. Sell me on some optimism of the Twins this year.
New regime. I mean, I think the biggest thing with Derek Falvey and Thad Levine is that they do have a track record with pitching and developing starting pitching. With Falvey having played a big role in that in Cleveland, and I think that will help with this team because pitching has been, oh my God, it's been whether it's injuries or guys just not performing well. I mean, it's been pretty bad. I mean, save for Irvin Santana last year was pretty good, but with Hughes having his injury and the procedure that he had to have, and just other guys, just like Tyler Duffy led the team in wins last year. And he had an ERA of like 6.5.
That seems less than ideal.
Yeah, he had 9 wins, which led the team, which is bad in its own right. But then when your wins leader has an ERA of 6.5, you know that it's bad.
Do you think they top 75 wins this year?
I think they can. It's baseball is a tougher sport to figure out because you can. I mean, well, first of all, the Twins winning only 59 games last year, they set the bar really, really, really low. So, really, anything, they could have a terrible season this year, and it, on the surface, well, it's an improvement because they won 67 games instead of 59. But no, I think they can win. I think they can win somewhere between 70 and 80 games. I definitely think it's possible because I think the approach that Levine and Falvey are bringing in, I think, is really going to help with. I think one of the things that I think that they've talked about is like conditioning wise for the pitchers. And I think if they can get these pitchers to sort of condition themselves better, not that it was bad conditioning, but just sort of approach things a little bit differently to see if it helps with performance as well. And I think they'll implement some of that stuff, and I think it'll help.
You know, it's weird. It's baseball is one of those sports where you can have pitchers and DHs and first basemen and the gut and right fielders to a degree, like guts out to here, like giant, massive guts. And there's a line from Mr. Baseball that sticks out with me when they're like training over Tom Selleck over the Japanese team. I'm not an athlete. I'm a baseball player.
Well, you know, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. Putting Miguel Sano in right field last year was. I from the very beginning I was like, this is going to be bad, and I thought that was just going to be bad defensively. I thought he was going to be fine as a hitter, and you could see for whatever reason it affected him as a hitter too. And I don't know if I know Royce has talked about just that approach that you have as a ball player to sort of focus on your craft and not just thinking because you had such a good rookie year. Like, teams are going to adjust to you. They've seen you now, and they're going to adjust to you, and you have to adjust to those adjustments. And I don't think Miguel really did that last year at all. I think he sort of walked into this thing. He was overweight. He wasn't in shape. And he just said, well, I had such a good rookie year, and this is easy. I don't really have to work as hard as maybe some of these other guys do because I just have this natural
weak syndrome.
Yeah, it really was. And you could see it. I mean, he had a terrible year last year, you know, in the field and with the bat too, by his standards and by what he has the potential to be. It was a bad year, so I think he's down 15 pounds according to some of the reports. Yeah. So we'll see.
Baseball spring training is just like NFL training camp, best shape of their life.
Oh yeah. Well, and you hear that too. That's the funny thing too is you hear going into these things that, you know, I feel great and I feel fantastic. And, I mean, we kind of hear the same thing from Maurer every year, right? In the offseason, you know, I feel pretty good. And
this is the
it's
one.
Gonna be great. And then you start thinking, okay, no, Joe's going to bounce back. And then he starts out the season strong. Like last year, he was terrific. The first month and a half of it, he was great. And then it just came crashing down. He was awful the second half of the year. So you sort of hear that from everybody that, I feel great, I feel good. But you got to get out in the field and you got to see how you really feel, and then if you're feeling good in April and May, then that's a little bit more important.
Now, NFL contracts aren't generally worth the paper that they're written on, but baseball contracts can be like an anchor, like weight down upon it. Now, which method do you prefer as a fan, not from like a player's perspective?
In terms of like if they should be guaranteed or not, or
in terms of the overall mobility and ability to adapt. Like when a player's doing well, you know, they don't have a guaranteed contract for 7 years that's going to weigh down the team, or do you want the players to have a little bit of stability, try and be fair to them?
I'm kind of torn on it because in some ways, like as a fan, I look at NFL contracts and I say, okay, well, if somebody gets signed to a bad deal, that team can easily get from underneath that. They can defer money or they can just outright cut a guy if their contract's not guaranteed. But at the same time, it's like, as a broadcaster, as someone who works in the media, I sort of look at this and say, this is kind of a raw deal for these guys, that, especially in that particular sport where the body just takes an absolute beating, especially if you're on the offensive line or if you're a running back or a receiver or somebody like that. And then the fact that these teams can just sort of cut these guys and get rid of them when they're not being as productive as they like is just kind of it troubles me. But as a fan, when I see someone like, I don't know, Bernard Berrien or somebody get insanely overpaid by the Vikings, and then he's just like he's worth like half of what his contract is in terms of production. And then when he finally gets, cut loose, it's like, okay, well, yeah, see you later.
Now, I know that the Bears to Vikings wide receiver pipeline hasn't been great with Berrien, Bobby Wade, Marcus Robinson, Devin Aromashodu. But Alshon Jeffrey is not going to be tagged. He's going to hit the market.
Yeah, it would be great to have him, but there's so many other. Well, there's the elephant in the room is the offensive line, right? I mean, that's what everybody's looking at, and I've been saying it for months that needs to be the number one priority. The tough thing is they're in a tough spot because the free agency crop isn't strong, and neither is the draft.
Yep.
So Rick Spielman's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place right now, just trying to figure out how to go about this. I think they'll sign somebody in free agency. I don't know if it'll be Andrew Whitworth or somebody like that. It would be great, even though he's up there in age. He had a great year with Cincinnati.
His country is strong.
Yeah. So he great, sign somebody like him and put him at left tackle, and then you feel like you don't have to worry about that anymore. But I just don't know. I get the sense, Matt Khalil's going to end up being back, which is not what a lot of people want to hear, I don't think. But it just kind of seems like the alternative options out there are not great. And, maybe Riley Reif, I don't know what his situation is like in Detroit. He's played left tackle. I know he's been the right tackle, but somebody like him, maybe. But my gut feeling tells me it's going to end up being Matt Khalil in that spot. And then you still got 4 other spots that you really kind of have to figure out. Well, 3, because I think Boone will probably end up being back at left guard. But
like there's some of the fan base there, Scott Buzz, like, well, Boone's contract, you can get out underneath it. It's like, he just got here, man.
Yeah.
And he started slow, but he turned around later on in the season.
Yeah, I think as a pass blocker, I think he was okay. I think he definitely struggled with run blocking, as did the entire line, really. But yeah, I think he did enough to where it warrants getting a second look at him for another year to see if he can bounce back and get his feet settled in with the team and this town and everything. So I think he's pretty much locked into that spot. But I mean, center, you got to figure that out if Berger is going to be the guy, or if you want to move him to guard and go sign somebody. Fusco's gone, and he's been a disaster the last couple of years. And right tackle is and then right tackle was a complete disaster too last year. So they got some work to do on the line, that's for sure.
Spielman gets a lot of credit for assembling a solid young roster, but his lack of addressing the offensive line, especially with early in the draft picks, and then when he does invest draft picks like Willie Beavers, TJ Clemmings, Matt Khalil.
Oh my God, Beavers was how does a guy you take in the 4th round get cut in training camp?
Yeah.
Like, how does that cannot happen. Yeah. That cannot happen. I know it's probably happened once or twice before in the NFL, but like, I couldn't tell you when it happened.
Yeah, it's rare. Like, Carolina cut a corner they drafted in the 3rd round this year, but 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. It's exceedingly rare when a player gets cut. And also, you think, 4th round pick, he's probably going to get picked up by another team. Nope.
Nobody picked him up. I mean, and we didn't even see him. Did we see him at the last? Did he play in that last game in Chicago? I'm trying to think if he did or not.
I don't think so, but he got run in one of the late games. Somebody given Chicago, but he got into a game. Might have been the Dallas game, but yeah, didn't look spectacular. Didn't look great.
Yeah, I mean, so it's a mess, man, and I don't, like I said, I mean, with the free agency crop being kind of thin and the draft being. There's nobody in the draft where you look at like where Mel Kiper's like this guy is, or McShay's like this guy he's going to be fantastic. Where you just have a bunch of
It actually might be a blessing that the Vikings traded away their 1st round pick for Sam Bradford. Is that there's not a lot of great starting caliber offensive tackle talent.
Yeah.
And for agency, you got Whitworth, you got Riley Reif, you got Ricky Wagner out there. You're going to pony up for one of the guys, hopefully. And
I think you have to.
Yeah, this is Spielman paying a tax on not addressing the O-line earlier, and fortunately for him, the Vikings actually have some cap room to play with, especially if they cut number 28.
Yeah, well, it's funny because Reavers thinks Peterson's going to be back. I'm just telling him, there's no chance. Yeah, there's no chance. Like they're going to lowball the hell out of him to restructure his deal, and he's going to say nope. See, I don't want to do this, and then that'll be their reason to.
That is my hope, but I don't trust the Vikings to make the logical move, especially after he came back after the 2014 thing.
You can't bring him back for 18, though. You just can't do that.
Maybe not 18, but I could see them offerings like, Adrian, will you do it for 10? And just like groveling, and then he's like, I will do it for 10.
Yeah. And and the problem too
still
is
SMH.
And the problem too is they'll do that. And his agent will tell him too, yeah, well, you're probably not going to get 10 on the market from anybody else, and then that'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll come back with 10.
I would say open market, maybe he'll get
Five
maybe.
or six. Yeah.
And, you know, he threw out the usual teams of Houston and Tampa, and the Giants picked, and then he did that tweet of Giants making some interesting moves when they cut Rashad Jennings and Victor Cruz to free up some money.
The Giants actually seem like the only team. Yeah, they really seem like the only other team that makes sense. I mean, people talk about New England too, but New England's got guys that they don't need to bring in a high-priced free agent running back. They don't.
Did you guys see the betting odds of Adrian Peterson's 2017 team?
Mm-mm.
All right, so the Vikings were plus 250. They're the second favorite. The first favorite, plus 200, was the Green Bay Packers. Now, this is all speculation. I'm sure that the bookmakers are just putting that out there for fun, but my goodness.
Yeah, that would be.
I would take it just for the storylines. Because it would be awesome.
Oh, God, yes. And that game.
Thank you.
That game at U.S. Bank Stadium would be off the charts.
All right, we just got some deliciousness delivered. One more point. The Adrian down to Tampa. Now, that would be interesting. Dirk Cutter likes to feature one back, and he gave friggin' Jacquizz Rodgers like 40 carries in a game for like 2 consecutive games. Him and Jameis could both have an intellectual off. Like they could both apply for Mensa together.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that would be I'd pay money to see that, actually. Absolutely.
That'd be good. All right, so Manny and I are going to dig into this, but something you should dig into is getting around town. You don't want to drive. You don't want to pay for parking. That's baloney. Bullshow.co/Lyft, LYFT. Download the app through us, and we're giving you $15 off your first couple of rides. We'll take care of you. That's what Manny does here. Bullshow.co, because .com is too expensive, /Lyft, LYFT. I'll be right back with more Manny Hill right here at the Blue Door Pub. Coming back into the Blue Door Pub Studios right here on University on Como with my man Manny Hill. Yep. And you should get your ass down to Blue Door Pub because it's Lent, and we all celebrate Lent because that's important. Oh my God, Fish Fry Ash Wednesday. This Wednesday, the first, second. What's Wednesday?
Let's see. Today's 27th.
I should probably know.
Tomorrow's 28th.
Oh, yeah, first. Yeah, second. First. Yep. March 1st, Ash Wednesday, and every Friday during Lent. $12 all you can eat cod and $14 pitchers of B-side Pilsner. And if you buy both, you get your name in the drawing. You can win lots of great stuff from Indeed, and also a 2-night stay at Chase on the Lake in Walker, Minnesota, which sounds picturesque. Do that up. All 3 Twin Cities locations, Longfellow, St. Paul, and University on Como. Visit thebdp.com. And make sure you spell that right, because otherwise you go someplace naughty. Been there. So come back in with Manny Hill. And, Manny, you just dropped, like, some Rainman, like, full-on shit on me.
Really? Yeah. Well.
Right, so fill the people in on what you just did.
It's kind of my nerd moment, and if Royce were hearing this, he'd totally make fun of me and call me a dork or a nerd or something like that.
Then you take shirt off, like P.D. Pablo.
But yeah, I know the result of all 51 Super Bowls.
Oh no, fill them in of what you did during the break.
Oh, during the break. Yeah. Okay. I ran off every Vikings starting quarterback since 1993.
He got all the games that Sean Salisbury started. It's creepy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just thinking that, like, this is some Goodwill Hunting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're Matt Damon, you're going to solve some insolvable problem as a janitor. I'll be Robin Williams. Do you know Robin Williams won an Oscar for that?
For Goodwill Hunting?
Yeah, Best Supporting Actor.
You know what? That's right, he did.
Yeah, that's crazy. We'll get into Oscars in a bit, but I want to explore this a little bit more. So,
sure.
I'm going to name off a handful of Super Bowls. You tell me who won, who lost, and where it was.
Okay.
How about the score, too?
Yeah, I can tell you the score,
right.
Yep.
Let's see here. Super Bowl VI.
That was the... I got to think here for a sec. Oh, that was the Dolphins and Cowboys.
Okay, that's correct.
Final score was 24-3. The Dolphins won. Where was that game at? I want to say it was at... The game was played on turf. Was that in the Orange Bowl? Maybe? No. Super Bowl VI. That might have been... wasn't Tulane Stadium, was it?
It was Tulane.
It was Tulane Stadium.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
it was someplace on turf.
You got to flip around. The Cowboys won that one.
They did.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you know what I'm thinking? The Dolphins won the next year. They won Super Bowl 7. That was the year they went undefeated.
That one is correct. We'll go with Super Bowl. The only time I use Roman numerals is Super Bowl. You ever notice that?
Yeah. That's the only time I ever do, too.
Or Rocky movies.
Yeah, that's true.
Creed, Rocky 7. Next up is Super Bowl 15.
15, that was the Eagles and the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders won 27-10. That was at the Superdome.
Damn. That was amazing. That's the game that got Dick Vermeil to quit.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one more. Let's pick a random one. Damn it, I can't read Roman numerals. Super Bowl 18.
Oh, that was the Marcus Allen. That was the game Marcus Allen had that big run for the Raiders against the Redskins. The Raiders won 38-9. That was in Tampa.
Wow. That's great. What was the attendance?
Oh, I couldn't tell you that. It was probably about 70,000 something.
Charlatan. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's a nerd. Well, like it. When I was a kid, I would come home and watch NFL films. Yeah. Like I was not the typical kid that came home and watched like the Disney afternoon and watched cartoons. I did watch those shows, but like first and foremost,
you memorized every episode of Power Rangers.
But like first priority when I got home at 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon from school was turn on ESPN2, especially during like January NFL playoffs. They'd have those marathons of Super Bowl highlight shows, and I would just sit and watch those until like 5 o'clock when they'd be on.
Yeah, that was back when ESPN was the Deuce.
Yeah, ESPN2 was the Deuce. Yep. That
was a good time.
Those old John Facenda videos, it was great.
All right, so you produced for Royce, and he's definitely a character in this market, but in my I don't know, I've met him a couple times in passing, but you for sure know him. I feel like he's the most different from on-air in print persona to his actual self.
You're right. There's a huge difference. His normal self, there's a lot more colorful language. No, he's great, and he gets his. If you follow him on Twitter, he's himself on Twitter, but he's also he loves to prod the needle. He loves to get people going, and
wait, we can't use that phrase. That's intellectual property of the other place. Get him going. Yeah.
But
I also love that Royce doesn't know how to quote tweet.
Right. Yeah. He does it sometimes.
Yeah.
He does it sometimes, and I'll see him do it. And I'm like, hey, Pat's he's doing the right thing now. He's saving himself characters, and then 2 minutes later, he's doing the old way. I feel like, no, Pat, come on.
I should get a degree and able to decipher some of the hieroglyphics that he puts up in tweets when he's responding to people. Because sometimes he'll get the quote tweet right. Sometimes he'll manually retweet it. Sometimes he'll just write in front of the text of the previous tweet.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
If he actually does know how to use Twitter and just doing that as part of a bit, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be like fourth level stuff.
Yeah. He's that's the thing. Like he prods the needle. He knows how to get people pretty worked up, but really behind the scenes he's awesome to work with. He will make you laugh at just about everything. He doesn't take himself too seriously, and he's seriously, I kid you not, he's one of the nicest people on this planet.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah. So, and I've been very fortunate to be able to work with him for the last year and a half on his show on a daily basis. It's been great.
Yeah, that's what I hear from everyone is that he's just a sweet sort of teddy bear that likes to take his shirt off a lot.
Yeah. A few times just when he's at, Hammond Stadium watching a game in Fort Myers, or if he's in the studio with Rookie and just decides to take his shirt off and tweet out the picture.
Also, my favorite thing is that I love that his negotiations for new contracts and stuff is about getting Fridays off.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing. And he still does Saturday morning with Judd.
Yeah,
which is it's just such a weird, because of that schedule. It's such a weird day for him to have. Off would be Fridays.
Yeah,
that he decided. It was like, Pat, you could take. Why don't you take Mondays? Because you'd have more of a full weekend.
I'm doing this on principle.
Yeah. Yeah, but he's great, man. He's one of a kind, that's for sure.
And with sports talk radio, it's getting more and more difficult to strictly stay in the lane of sports. And then you get the whole, especially on Twitter, of people chiming in, stick to sports and blah, blah, blah. What's your take on that thought?
I hate when people do that.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like look, social media is that's everybody's platform to sort of say what they want. And, sometimes I get annoyed by some of the things that I see on Twitter and, some of the weird.
Present company included. It's all good. I'm self-aware.
No,
that's the best part of it.
No, Andy, you're fine.
Yeah.
You're fine.
That's the best compliment I've gotten all week. My wife's been mean.
But no, what really gets me is like trolls. The egg avatars. In other words, the people who don't put pictures up and they have like 2 followers and their Twitter handle's like some weird number combination. It's like Doug and then like 12 numbers.
No, it would be like Doug Skull 69 Parisi.
Yeah. And it and they have 2 followers and they just say something because they want you to get pissed off for whatever reason. And so I've sort of implemented my own personal Twitter rule that I just will not interact with people on Twitter anymore. But I do think for the most part people should be allowed to sort of express themselves and offer up opinions on whatever they want. And we're kind of in that place now where we can't disagree with one another without hating each other's guts, which is really sad. And
it's a sad difficult. Exclamation point.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But so I don't really get that worked up if a hip-hop artist says something about sports, I'm not going to tweet it and stick to hip-hop or something like, or vice versa.
Unless it's Kanye.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, Kanye needs to shut the hell up sometimes. Yeah.
I think Kanye actually has some mental issues going on.
Yeah, he's a weird guy, man, and I don't know. I hope that this situation right now, I hope he's getting some help because I don't like to see that. Even for somebody that's kind of annoyed me in the last 5 or 6 years, I don't like to see that when they're going through that sort of thing. So you just kind of hope that he pulls out of it.
And sort of the sad thing about Kanye, if you want to call a very successful multi-million-dollar entertainer sad, but he was like a great artist. He was a great rapper before
his first 2 albums. I loved his first 2 albums.
College Dropout album is one of my favorite albums of all time.
Yes, it was fantastic. And then he just started getting weird and.
Then he got looped with the Kardashians.
Well, see, that's don't get me started on them. It was like after 808s and Heartbreak, like it just got really, really, really weird with him, man. And then he did the music video of him on the motorcycle with Kim, and it's just like, dude, what the hell's going on there?
Sorry, I diverted us off, but bring us back to like the whole stick sports thing. I think it's pretty much YOLO on Twitter. I actually think that's healthy. Like on Twitter, on social media, just kind of vent, say what you want. But what bugs me is when it leaks into programming, and especially when they try to shoehorn it in. Because like after the executive order about the Muslim, well, quote unquote Muslim ban, travel ban. There we go. The Rachel Nichols on The Jump on ESPN did a segment about how immigration makes the NBA. I'm like, how many players are they getting from Yemen?
Right.
I don't know. Like when it seems forced, as we were talking about Super Bowl during the break, and when that SB Nation article about the Patriots have a Trump problem, and it was sort of a hit piece posed as journalism. It was really an op-ed posed as journalism, saying that there are some Patriots fans that aren't cheering for the Patriots, which is patently false. But I feel like when it isn't organic, when it actually isn't a story, maybe when you're just trying to impress your beliefs, either side, into the sports venue, then that gets like people can smell bullshit, and that's bullshit.
Yeah, it is, and what I don't like is like grandstanding when people they sort of use their social media platform to say, hey, look at me and look at the stance that I'm taking, and I'm going to show that I'm better than you because I believe this, and it's like, okay, great. You have a right to express that opinion, but not that many people like really care one way or the other. And you're trying to force people to care,
My favorite thing is when you still see it. People have paper clips in their Twitter name, not the handle, but the name, where it's supposed to be the safety pin, except there's no safety pin emoji, so they put a paperclip. And essentially what they're saying is like, hey, I'm a white person that's not going to harm you minority people. And I'm like, yeah, cool, nice. You're a decent person, just like the rest of us. Awesome.
Yeah, we're happy for you.
Yeah. Way to promote it. Cool.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Twitter. There are times where, and you and I, we follow each other. There are times where you'll probably notice that I'm just not tweeting at all. Like I might go like a day or two because there are times where I do love it and I do enjoy it, but there are times where I just have to take a step back and say, okay, come up for air, come out of the pool, take a deep breath, and then go back in a day or so and see what's going on.
Well, I think I have a wiring that is probably suited for social media. Is that I don't care what anyone thinks. Like I'm unoffendable. Like I can never be offended by what someone says.
Right.
But you see people just get into beefs where they're very unbecoming. They get into like Twitter spats, like Shaq and JaVale McGee, which I actually think might be staged, but let's say it's not.
Well, did you see the latest on that today?
No.
Apparently, Shaquille O'Neal's mother has said that this needs to stop. That was my daily complaint on the ride today. Was
if Shaq's mom is stepping in, that means that it's time to stop.
You got a 44-year-old man and a 29-year-old man, and their mothers are telling them to stop beefing on Twitter.
Well, I mean, after the election, you see athletes, you see people in sports media just go off the hinges, where it's very unbecoming, very unprofessional, and it's like I don't think as humans we're wired evolutionarily wise yet. Maybe I'm ahead of the curve. Oh, I'm a mutant. Shit, there we go. X-Men. Yeah, that's my power, to be unoffended.
Yeah.
It's like, I can be Wolverine. I got dealt a bad hand for the mutants. But I don't think as humans we're wired to be bombarded 24/7 with what other people think. Like the keyboard warrior stuff. Yeah,
and I mean, and that goes back to like me sometimes just needing to take a break from it because, regardless of how people may feel, where they sort of lean on the political spectrum and if they're pro-Trump or anti-Trump or whatever, there are times where I don't want to look at Twitter on my phone and see 17 Trump-related tweets. Regardless of whatever side I may be on in the thing, I just don't want to. I don't want to. There's other things that I want to see. You know what I mean? And I don't. I follow sports figures. I follow sports writers and columnists and radio personalities in the sports broadcasting world, and I follow hip hop artists and different things. But it's still for some reason like I don't follow a whole lot of like political news outlet stuff on Twitter. I can use the rest of the internet for that type of stuff. But somehow, some way, really.
Oh my God.
Oh God, don't get me started on that. But so I don't really go on Twitter searching for my news. I go on to see if I go to see sports-related news. If something happens, if a big trade happens, that sort of thing. Like that's how I found out the big trade the Wild made yesterday. I was on Twitter and was like, oh, okay.
Two guys that don't have mumps.
Yeah, nice. Exactly. But I don't. But somehow, some way, I still end up seeing 25 political-related tweets. Stuff that I don't. It's not that I don't care. It's just I'm not going on Twitter to see that.
And all the tweets are whatever Trump did or whatever his cabinet is. Like SMH told you guys this is the end. #resist.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you're doing a lot there tweeting.
Yeah. You and your 74 followers, you're doing a lot there. But yeah, I don't know, man. It's tough that the country's kind of in this spot where we're pretty divided and people can't disagree with each other without wanting to fight each other. It's really unfortunate. But you just hope it gets better and some of this stuff just starts to calm down. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to calm down anytime soon.
No, people get bored. I think the Oscars took some starch out of it. And
how about that yesterday, by the way?
Ooh, the next full football season, and then that'll be it. It's like, so the Oscars. You notice that the movies up for Best Picture, I've only seen 3 of them. I only liked one of them, Hell or High Water. And it's because the Academy, and this has been happening for years, that they nominate films. They don't do movies.
Yeah.
Which is kind of annoying.
Yeah, and the whole – what's funny, too, is you get You get some actresses that are like, no, call me an actor. I don't want to be called an actress. But they'll accept, if given to them, they'll accept the Academy Award for Best Actress. No, with no protest or no complaints whatsoever.
I'm an artist. Did you see Viola Davis's speech?
I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. I'm a big fan of her.
Like, she is good. Like, Getting Away with Murder, and she was good in Fences. That's one of the ones I saw too. Yep. Is that she's very intense, but the line that got me is like, I'm so glad I chose to become an artist because we're the only profession that blah 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 something that feels life. Or
it was something. We're the only profession that works to show our life, or something like that.
Yeah, something super blowhardy that sort of took away from the rest of her good speech, and like, this is the disconnect that people have with Hollywood.
Yeah, it is, and it at times, you know, you see, like, you go to the Meryl Streep thing where she, you know, unloaded on Trump, and it's like, okay, I'm not mad at you for saying that, and I'm sure you probably believe what you're saying, and that's fine. And I don't really disagree with what you're saying, but it just kind of comes off as sort of uppity.
Yeah.
You know,
and
it was just really.
Why'd she have to throw football and MMA under the bus too?
Yeah.
It's like, without art, all that would be left is football and MMA. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. I'm cool with that. I'll follow those things.
Except I'm still working on a theory. I'm still trying to put it together. But have you noticed that over the past decade, TV has gotten exponentially better with more competition, like Amazon, Netflix getting in the game, and movies have gone south in terms of quality.
Nobody really, I mean, we see good films get nominated for a lot of, you know, Academy Awards and those sorts of things, but we don't really see a whole lot of originality anymore.
Yeah.
When movies are made, like, everybody's just sort of remaking things, and like I saw, you know, I'm watching the Oscars last night with my girlfriend, and we see the preview for Beauty and the Beast that's coming up, and I'm like, I look at my girlfriend, I'm like, hey, they already did this.
Although,
like, Disney already did this. It's like, well, this is a real life thing. I said, but Disney they already did this.
They haven't done it with Emma Watson,
though. That's true. Good point. Good point. Yeah.
And actually, we'll see this on TV. Like, the trend now is remaking or adapting movies into TV shows. Like Training Day, R.I.P. Bill Pullman, is on CBS. Lethal Weapon. They're bringing Taken to NBC.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't understand. The other one I saw too, it wasn't not a movie, but it's like Chips. Chips coming back.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, it might be funny, but it's just kind of like, really, like, we've already seen, like, you already did Chips, like, we already did it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's, well, and then, you know, you go back to films, you've got another reboot of Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be the third time that they've sort of.
It's going to be Black Spider-Man this time. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. We'll see. I don't know.
Oh, it would be Will Smith's son. Damn it, nepotism. I also like that we are kindred spirits and we both hated La La Land.
Yeah, I was pretty much. I got about halfway through that show last night. I was pretty much rooting for them to lose.
It's like rooting against the Warriors.
Yeah, in some ways, it very much was like that. But it was just kind of like, I called it. I was probably about 80% accurate on them winning, because every time they got nominated for something, I looked at my girlfriend and said, "Yeah, they're going to win. It doesn't matter. Everything else that's nominated could be great. It could have been great, but La La Land's going to take this."
Well, it's odd because Emma Stone, great actress. Ryan Gosling, solid actor.
Neither one of them can sing.
Neither one of them can sing or dance, and you put them in musical. I understand that you put them in the movie because they have good chemistry. They've been in movies before, and they'll sell at the box office. But there's an opportunity to have two maybe not so household names that can actually sing and dance, put up a great performance. You have essentially the same movie, and it would have been better. Like, I watched La La Land. The wife liked it. I was still kind of like, something was missing. Like, it wasn't the greatest movie of all time that some people are talking about. And the fact that it's like tailor-made for an Oscar movie. It's like, all right, so we have a musical, we got singing, we got dancing. It's about making movies, about chasing dreams here in Hollywood.
And it's like, haven't we seen that story a million times already? Like, it just, I'm looking at all of these other movies that were nominated for Best Picture, and I'm like, I can see how any of those could have won because there's a unique aspect of those movies that really stood out. Like Moonlight, we've never really seen another movie like that.
Brokeback Mountain.
Well, yeah. Touche. Yeah. But and Hidden Figures and
I was shocked that Hidden Figures got shut out.
Yeah, I was too.
Yeah.
I thought that they would get, maybe one or two for something, but I'm a little surprised they didn't get anything.
Yeah. And with Moonlight, that's also kind of like La La Land, where it checked the boxes. You have inner city, poor, black, gay. Like, that's going to get you a lot of Oscar points. Mm-hmm. And it was a fine story. It was like Ali, the guy who won for Best Supporting Actor, he was amazing. Yeah. Remy from House of Cards. Mm-hmm. Him and Naomi Harris pretty much carried the movie. The rest of it was kind of okay. I sort movies into two categories: one that you'll watch again, one that you won't watch again. Mm-hmm. Like Moonlight was one that you'll just watch once and be like, all right, now we're done. Same with La La Land.
Yeah, I mean, and I didn't see La La Land, but I was just like,
what movie I'll watch many times? Deadpool.
Yes, yes. And Deadpool got shut out with everything. Like, it didn't get nominated for anything. With a real travesty.
It's like last year, the travesty was Creed didn't do as well as it should have. Creed's a fantastic movie.
Yes, it is.
I feel like Stallone, that's probably one of his. Actually, I'll say that's his best Rocky performance, including Rocky 1, where I believe he won for Best Actor. But yeah, that just didn't get enough love.
Yeah, it didn't, and I was a little surprised by that because it was more. I mean, the Rocky 2 through 5, which 5 I don't even acknowledge that it even
except
exists.
4 is good.
Oh yeah, 4 is great. 4 is the greatest movie ever. But you just look at those movies and it's just well, it's not. None of this is really even plausible. But then you look at Creed and it's I could totally buy this as it couldn't. It sort of stood alone in that it wasn't. There wasn't so much of that Rocky feel to it. It was just kind of Rocky was the side character, and the focus was this kid, was Apollo Creed's illegitimate kid. But, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, and performance was great in it too. Michael B. Jordan, I think he's really established himself as upcoming actor. He'll be nominated for some Academy Awards coming up here.
Gotta think so.
Have you seen Fruitvale Station?
Yes,
that was really good.
Yes, and he was great in that movie. Yes, he was.
That's one of those movies you know what happens, but you're still as you're watching it is holy shit.
Yeah, and you're really, really I remember the first time I watched that movie, I was and I knew the whole Oscar Grant story from just reading about it in the papers and when it happened and all that stuff. But I watched the movie and I was so angry. Yeah, I was just so worked up with emotion because. It's just it didn't need to happen. That whole thing that happened with him, it did not need to happen. Yeah. And seeing it sort of dramatized like that, it impacted me a lot more than even just reading about it when it happened. And
stop me if I'm digging a little bit too deep here, but we're relatively close to where Philando Castile got shot over on Larpenteur. And I can't put myself in your shoes, a black man from St. Paul, where it happens right in your backyard. But what was that effect on you?
It affected me big time. I didn't know Philando Castile personally, but I knew people that knew him personally. Yep. Right, I know people that knew him personally, and seeing the kind of effect that it had on those people that knew him. That hit close to home, and these aren't even people that are his family. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I couldn't imagine what his family was going through when this happens, something that did not need to happen. Yeah. And it's really sad, and it's another one of those things that just divided people, and a lot of times the fact that someone lost their life gets lost. Yeah. Absolutely. In this whole thing, because then it becomes a political thing, and then people start to, we just talked about on Twitter, where people they butt heads and they don't agree on a certain issue, and then they start fighting with each other. And it's like, that's not – we're losing sight of what happened here, that someone lost their life that did not need to lose their life.
Yeah.
You know?
And then also, I really hate when, like, the victims, they start digging in, like, well, this guy was arrested in 2011 for blah, blah, blah. So, like, they're attacking the character of the dead, and whether black or white or whatever, it's like that's pretty weak sauce. Yeah,
it totally is. And it's like you can't – I've always said this, whether it's the Philando Castile thing or it's the thing that happened in Louisiana, the Michael Brown situation, which is kind of unique in its own right, but – I always say, ask yourself this one question. Did that person need to lose their life? That's what it comes down to.
Yep.
It's what you have to ask yourself. Did Philando Castile need to lose his life? That's the only question you need to ask.
Yeah. We should do that with every situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do you ever get scared driving?
I would say lately, the last couple of years, it's been on my mind more.
Yeah.
Because of just all the things that have been happening.
10 and 2.
10 and 2. Yeah, seriously, because it's. So I don't know if it's fear or being scared, but I'm thinking about it a little bit more than I normally have, and it's always been something that's in the back of my mind because I've had certainly not that extreme of a case, but I've had situations where I've been pulled over and it's like, okay, I know what's going on here.
Yeah.
You know, and it's, you know, my mom always taught me, you know, just be as polite as you can. Don't talk back. Be as respectful as you can. Do everything that they tell you, and that's, you know, that's your best shot.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. Whether you're black, you're white, you're Asian, you're whatever. If just do what the cop says, and if your rights have been infringed upon, we'll take care of that later with the lawyers. But, yeah, I feel like most cops are inherently good. Like, I will say that 9 out of 10 cops are good. But with every group, you'll get that one bad apple. Maybe the wife just left him. Maybe he's got some pent-up anger issues. Yeah. And he's just on a hair trigger to do something. And
that's the thing, too, is we always have to remember that these police officers, these cops, they are human beings, too. And all of us as human beings, we're all prone to making mistakes and making the wrong decision or, you know, jumping the gun on something.
And they can get scared, too.
Yeah, they can get scared, too. The biggest thing that we all have to do is not fight with each other so much about this stuff and bicker at each other and just say, okay, how do we find a solution?
Yep.
How do we make this better without saying it's your fault and it's your fault and you know, it's not my fault and that sort of thing. Just how do we work together to find a solution and have conversations with each other about this without screaming at each other and calling each other names and saying, you're a racist and no, you're a racist and that sort of thing. How do we come together, have these sort of conversations and come to a common ground? And I think that's one big step to sort of fixing this whole thing, you know? So
yeah, that's what sort of gets me. Like, I'm all for civil protest, and that's what our country's founded on. But if you're loud and don't have an end goal, or if you're going past the line, you're breaking windows and stuff, and you have to have a clear end goal. Like, we want this A, B, and C, as opposed to we're here for justice. All right, what does justice mean? Well, we don't know, but we want it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think people, if they feel that they should be able to, if they feel like protesting something because it's something that they truly believe in, I say go for it. I'm all for that because that's what this country should be about. You know, we should all be able to sort of express ourselves and express concerns about things that we feel are not right.
Yep.
The biggest problem is when this stuff gets violent.
Yeah.
And when it becomes shouting matches and people are, and that's when
then that becomes a story.
That becomes a story, and then the message gets completely lost.
Or let people block in 35.
Yeah. I mean, because it's tough because I do feel like protesting in some ways is meant to be I don't know if disruptive is the right word to use, but I guess I'm going to go with it in this particular case. But because the message does need to be heard, and sometimes it's not. It's not supposed to make people like protest is not supposed to make people comfortable. Like that's the reason why a lot of people do protest is because they're trying to say, look, this is, I'm not going to do this on Twitter. I'm not going to tweet out something. I'm going to stand out here and I'm going to tell you how I feel.
Yep.
It's just when it becomes violent and when it becomes sort of out of control, that's when it's a complete detriment.
I love that we're having an intense civil rights conversation with Boy George, chameleon in the background.
Playing in the background, yeah.
But just to put a bow on this, and then we'll bring it home with some levity.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like some people do use it as an excuse just to have anarchy. Like, they'll just co-opt themselves onto the protest or the message, and then they'll just completely ruin it. And I feel bad for the people who organize a protest out of good intentions, of good message, and then it gets completely overshadowed by anarchy and thugs.
Yeah, and a lot of times, too, it's very hard to differentiate who is in it and who's doing it with the right intentions and who's just there because it's an excuse for them to be out of work, or it's an excuse for them to be out of school, or it's just an excuse to be out doing something and not really understanding. Like, I always feel like if you're going to protest, really understand what you are protesting and really have a true belief in what you are protesting against.
And don't have 2-year-old kids holding up pictures of vaginas.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That picture's gonna be that picture of that kid's gonna be on the internet forever.
Yeah.
See, here's what I want to do. At all these protests, just put off an EMP, electrical pulse.
Yeah.
It shuts down all cameras, all phones, everything like that, so people can't take selfies of themselves at protests. Then I want to see how big the protest is, because then the people left will be the ones there for the right reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, it might be 7 people. It might be 250 people. I mean, you never know. But there is sort of that, when I see a lot of this stuff on TV, and that's the other unfortunate thing is that, we have so many people that are upset with the media and saying, well, the media is this and they're doing it. But it's like, how else are we really going to know what's happening? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And a lot of times we see things on TV, and that's our only way of really knowing that something is happening. Mm-hmm. And that's the only way of seeing that it's happening is if we're watching it on television.
Yeah.
So it's hard to – there's that fine line. It's a gray area for sure.
And we could do a whole show about the media, of how it's become 24/7. You need clicks, you need eyeballs, you need views, and that's a race to that. And it like mainstream news media, CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, has all become first take. Mm-hmm. I have a theory about that, but we'll get into that. But we just need like a nonprofit news organization. Like, we need Politico out here. Like chilling.
Yeah, absolutely. We just need somebody that's not where you're just getting the information.
All right, let's bring it back with some happiness. All right, so what's your end game? What's your Manuel? Is it Manuel?
Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, what is your 5-year plan?
Well, I do love what I'm doing now. The Hubbards they're a great company to work for, and I seriously mean this. Like, I'm not just saying it because but no, they're great, and I work with a lot of great people. But I mean, this industry, you're always sort of looking. I don't want to say looking for your next gig, but you are sort of, your head is always sort of on a swivel, and you're always sort of looking for challenges and sort of seeing, where can my skill take me next? You know what I mean? So, voiceover work has always been sort of a aspiration of mine. I've always been sort of fascinated by the idea of, like, I've done some voiceover stuff for minor things, but I've always been sort of fascinated by, like, the late Don LaFontaine, the guy who used to do the movie previews, that type of stuff. I'm like a geek for that kind of stuff. Like, those sorts of things I would love to do.
NFL Films, John Facenda.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Which I love Katie Nolan to death, except she doesn't seem right as the voiceover for NFL films.
Yeah, that's. I like Katie Nolan too, but that's probably not what she should be doing. I don't think.
Yeah. All right, so say 2022. Give me your perfect place where you are, career-wise.
I would still love to be working in sports radio, also doing some voiceover work as well. I just think for me, hopefully, I'm still just working in this business because I do love the world of radio. I mean, it's you don't do it for the paycheck. That's for sure. It's not. If you get into this industry looking to be, Scrooge McDuck and just jumping in piles of money, like it's not that type of world, but it's definitely something you have to love.
If you get into conservative talk radio, then you'll be all right.
Yeah, probably. You'll probably be okay. But yeah, I just hope to continue to be working in this business and having a major impact on this business. And really, if it's still working at 1500 ESPN, I'm perfectly cool with that because I really do love the people that I'm working with. It's great.
Ooh, King of the Hill, afternoons, 1500 ESPN. Catch it.
I can dig it.
It'll be good. Follow Manny on Twitter at MannyHill84. Anything else to promote?
Oh, yes. Two more podcasts to promote. I didn't even get a chance to mention.
What's the podcast? Oh, sorry, guys.
Raised by Wolves podcast, myself and Derek James, who covers the Wolves for 1500 ESPN. We lost one of our guys, Steve McPherson, a big part of our trio that we lost. He's working for Minnesota United now.
Oh, that's not basketball.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. He took that job. He's a copywriter for them now.
Oh.
And so he's doing work with them. And because of him taking that position, he had to leave his post. Working with us. So
McPherson's going to come get me for my knockoff Minnesota United shirts. Is that what copywriter means?
Maybe.
No, I don't think I'm right.
Maybe.
Anyways, what's the other one?
And then the Star Power podcast with the superstar Mike Morris. We're on a little bit of a hiatus now since we're in the off season, but as we get close to the combine and the draft, you'll be hearing the pipes of Mike Morris again here pretty soon too.
To win in a hand-to-hand combat fight with Mike Morris, what weapon would you need? Like, what's the minimum weapon you'd require?
A tank. A tank. Yeah. You probably need a tank. That's probably your best shot. Have you stood next to Superstar in person?
He's
ginormous.
He's formidable. Yeah.
He is huge.
He's one of the former players that you'll never have to worry about seeing on The Biggest Loser. Like, he's not Scott Mitchell.
Yeah. He's not at all, or Sean King or something like that. Yeah. So yeah, that's coming up here in a few weeks, and just plugging away. Tom Pelissito's goal line stand still going strong, and so I'm kind of a jack of all trades for 1500.
Hey, been there. It's good times. Manny Hill, thanks for coming in, man.
Thanks for having me, man. It was fun.
And great hearing from Manny Hill of 15 Hondo. The Andy and Manny Show coming to your eardrums very, very soon. Also coming to your eardrums is Amazon if you want to order up some sick beats. Now, I've gotten really into the Bluetooth headphones recently, mainly because it's awesome being wireless, but I finally got over the fear of, well, maybe I didn't get over the fear, but I'm pretty sure like all the Bluetooth rays are just driving cancer throughout my body. Yeah, there's going to be one tumor by the end, but it's all right. At least my headphones are styling, and I bought them on Amazon, bullshow.co/Amazon. It'll take you right to the homepage, bookmark the living out of it. And every time you buy something on Amazon, use that little linky link, and we'll get a couple nickels in our pocket, and we'll keep on keeping on. All right, if you enjoy the show, tell a friend, spread the word, add to the Jerome Army. Follow us on Twitter at BullShow. Andy, like us on Facebook, facebook.com/BullShow. That's very important. We need your thumbs, and we're just adding, we're growing, and we're coming for you. We're coming for you. Also, iTunes, subscribe, rate, review us. And that'll be a big help. Do that up. We're sitting at 33 reviews now. Let's get over, let's go over 50 by the end of the week. Let's do that. Big thanks to producer Allie for making me not sound so stupid tonight. But for Manny Hill, I'm Andy Carlson saying Annyeong, sayonara, and bye-bye. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
for listening to Bull with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th best daily podcast. Download the show on iTunes. Everyone's middle name is Jerome.